phenomenon, phenomenon, phenomenon. So, let's talk about the word phenomenon. It's a noun, which means it refers to a person, place, thing, or idea, in this case, an event or situation that is notable and deserving of attention. The common usage of phenomenon is to describe something remarkable, unusual, or extraordinary, like a natural disaster, a scientific discovery, or even a social trend. For example, you might say, the sudden rise in online shopping has become a phenomenon. What's special about this word is that it implies a sense of wonder or surprise when we talk about a phenomenon. We're often trying to make sense of something that's unexpected or unprecedented. You're planning to attend a conference on astrophysics next week and you want to impress your colleagues with some sophisticated vocabulary. So I've got 3 examples for you. Firstly, in a formal usage, you might say, the sudden appearance of a new galaxy, observed by astronomers around the world, is a fascinating phenomenon that warrants further investigation. This sentence uses the word phenomenon to describe a scientific occurrence that's being studied and analyzed. Now, if you're chatting with friends over coffee, you could casually mention, I'm not sure what's causing it, but there's been a weird phenomenon on social media. People are suddenly sharing more selfies than ever. Here, the word phenomenon is used to describe a curious or unusual trend that's being observed. Last but not least, in a business or academic setting, you might say, the widespread adoption of e-commerce platforms has been a significant phenomenon in the retail industry over the past decade, leading to major changes in consumer behavior and supply chain logistics. In this example, phenomenon is used to describe a notable and impactful development that's being studied and analyzed for its effects. So you want to know about this thing that happens when something unusual or remarkable is noticed by many people? Okay, let me break it down for you. A key characteristic of this concept is that it's something extraordinary that grabs people's attention and gets them talking. It's not necessarily a natural event, but rather something that surprises us or catches our interest. People often use words like odd occurrence or sensational happenings to describe it. And in science, it's sometimes called an anomaly. When this thing happens, people start to discuss and study it, trying to understand what caused it and how it works. It's a bit like when you're out on a walk and see something weird or unexpected, you can't stop thinking about it and wondering what it means. Priority. 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 Let's talk about the word priority. As a noun, priority refers to something that is more important than others and should be dealt with first in everyday usage. People often talk about setting priorities in life, such as prioritizing work over leisure time or prioritizing family needs over personal desires. This means making conscious decisions about what is most important and focusing on those things. First, it's essential to note that the word priority can also imply a sense of urgency. So it's not just about choosing between 2 things, but also about doing something quickly or taking immediate action. For example, the hospital needs to prioritize patient care over administrative tasks during an emergency. When explaining a situation to your host at their home, you might say, in our household, making sure everyone's safety is the priority. Especially when we have dinner guests, this is a formal usage of the word priority, where it's used in a context that requires respect and professionalism. For example, while discussing what to eat on a Friday night with your friend, You might say, if we want to try that new pizza place, I think getting there before 7 p.m. should be our priority. This is a casual conversation usage of the word, where it's used in an informal setting to convey a sense of urgency or importance. In a meeting discussing a project timeline, your team lead might say, delivering the prototype by the end of Q2 is our top priority. So we need to ensure everyone is working on their tasks as scheduled. This is a business or academic usage of the word, where it's used in a context that requires clear communication and goal setting. So, you want to know about this important concept that helps us focus on what's really crucial. Well, let me tell you, when we're faced with many things to do at once, there are certain tasks or goals that are more essential than others. We call these tasks or goals the main focus, or the most important ones that need our attention. First, this means if something else comes up, we can put it on hold for a bit because this one thing is more vital and needs to be taken care of before anything else. Similar concepts like key issues, major concerns, or must-dos also refer to the same idea. Doing what's most important and necessary first in everyday life. Thinking about what needs to be done in order of importance helps us stay organized, manage our time effectively, and avoid getting overwhelmed by too many tasks at once. Prohibit. 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 So, you want to know more about the word prohibit. The part of speech is a verb, which means it's used to express actions or states. When we say someone or something prohibits another person or thing from doing something, it usually means they officially stop or prevent them from doing that action. For example, the government prohibits smoking in public places. Here, the word prohibit is being used as a verb and the government is stopping people from smoking in certain areas. In a formal announcement, the government prohibit the sale of fireworks in residential areas during peak fire season to minimize the risk of bushfires. In contrast, at a dinner party with friends, you might say that your friend's snoring is starting to prohibit us from having a good night's sleep, implying it's becoming annoying. Meanwhile, in a business meeting discussing company policies, an HR representative might state that the new employee handbook clearly prohibit harassment and bullying of any kind, emphasizing the seriousness of these issues. So, you're trying to learn what prohibit means. Okay, think of it like this. When we say something is prohibited, we mean that it's not allowed or not supposed to be done in a certain place or situation. It's like a rule or a restriction that someone has put in place. And if you break that rule, there might be consequences. For example, in a hospital, visitors are often asked not to enter certain areas. But it doesn't mean they're completely forbidden, rather, they're just restricted from entering those specific places. This idea of not being allowed or restricted is basically what prohibit means. And it's used in all sorts of situations where there need to be rules or boundaries in place.